A rescue operation is currently ongoing to save victims trapped in a two-story building which collapsed at number 15 Iga Dongaran, close to Oba of Lagos, Riliwan Akinolu's palace, Lagos Island. According to eyewitnesses, the unfortunate incident occurred at about 11 a.m. on Thursday. And according to reports, many people were trapped in the building. Men of the Lagos State Emergency Management Authority, LASEMA, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, and Nigeria Police, among other emergency responders, were on the ground searching for survivors. Last Sunday, a mosque collapsed at Yusuf Street, Apapa Jao, Mushin area of the state. The federal government of Nigeria has once again extended an invitation to organized labor to resume negotiations on the minimum wage this Friday. On Tuesday, the Minimum Wage Committee adjourned indefinitely after talks between the federal government and organized labor broke down. Labour rejected the government's revised offer of 60,000 naira, up from the earlier 57,000 naira proposal. Now, during the meeting, the Labour also adjusted its demand, reducing it by 3,000 naira from the 497,000 naira proposed last week, setting the new figure at 494,000 naira. The Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkuruka Onyejocha, on Wednesday urged organized labor to be considerate and patriotic in their demands during the ongoing negotiations for a new minimum wage. And now to discuss this, I'm joined by Public Affairs Analyst Francis Chilaka. Francis, thank you so much for coming on. What are the key factors that will be considered in determining the new minimum wage, and how would they be weighed in the negotiations?
Well, I think we are dragging this whole issue of minimum wage too far. Labour has come out to tell government what they think is practicable. I personally would not. I do not agree with 615. I also do not agree with 400. But I believe that federal government should be able to come up and say, okay, Labour, we're giving you 150,000 as minimum wage. That will make a lot of sense because if you look at the cost of living today, you will agree with me that 60,000 naira is a far cry for anybody to survive in this country. Even 100,000 or 150,000 is just for us to have a semblance of relief and to be able to cushion the effect of inflation. But otherwise, any right-thinking Nigeria would support Labour when they ask for 615,000. But I think government should be able to come up to about 150,000. That will make more sense because it's really, really difficult right now living in this country.
I mean, they have extended an invitation and asking the Labour to come back to the table for more negotiations. But how will the federal government ensure that the new minimum wage keeps pace, with inflation and rising living costs that we're seeing across all sectors?
Well, it also falls back on the government because the government has been taking care of itself and not taking care of its labor force. The government should be able to understand that if everybody needs to make sacrifice, government needs to make a lot of sacrifice. They need to cut the cost of governance. It is very, very paramount that we cut the cost of governance. It is, apart from cutting the cost, we need to also unbundle, all the areas from which there are leakages. We need to do that. So we need to begin to ask ourselves, how do we want to govern ourselves as a people? We need to know how much our governors are earning, our senators, our honorables, our local government chairmen, how much are they earning? We need to cut the cost. If it is possible, we need to begin to even cut the manpower, especially in the National Assembly and the Senate, so that we can gather some money to be able to pay other people who are also working in the system. So I believe that it all falls in the hands of government, but for government to be offering Labour 60,000 naira, I personally would ask government to break it down vis-a-vis the cost of living today.
I remember when we were speaking to, I think, if I'm correct, I think it was the chairman for TUC, and the conversation we had with him was pretty much on the same lines, towing the same lines, you know, and also when we also had the representative of the chapter for NLC as well, and they keep asking that the government also presents, you know, stats to back these numbers that they are bringing at negotiations, right? And you just alluded to that as well. So again, you know, the truth of the matter is that bargaining and negotiations have to come into play. But what role will collective bargaining, you know, play in the negotiations, right? Labour have walked out of this negotiations twice now, and now they've extended another invitation for them to come in. How will the interests of various stakeholders be represented in a way that something tangible can come out once and for all?
In fairness to Labour, I think government is just playing back and forth with them. And in doing that, government is also using that as an opportunity to buy time. We keep talking about organized labor, but nobody's talking about the private sector. Because if you're fixing wages for organized labor, who is going to fix minimum wage for private sectors? You know, so these are, when you talk about bargaining, when you talk about everybody coming together, labor needs to do more. Let it not just be for those working in government. You should also have representatives of those who are working in private sectors, because they too are part of the country, they are part of the society. They're also suffering what every other Nigerian is suffering. See, the truth is this: government knows the right thing to do, but the government will not do it because government believes in creating poverty, and when there is poverty, you make the people very poor in such a way that you can control them. And that is what government is doing. Government is using poverty to hold Nigerians down. It is high time that government allows the Nigerian people to also enjoy what they enjoy as government. Because you can't have political appointees who are earning far above everybody. A governor will serve for 8 years, and then you will give him a lot of incentives when he leaves government. But those who have worked for 35 years, ordinary pension is difficult to be paid to them. So government knows the right thing to do. But then, like we say, you know, we just have a country where there's lack of transparency, lack of accountability, and high-headedness, corruption.
Many thanks. I appreciate you, Francis, for doing this with us today.
Thank you.